The Lawrence Alliance for Education Board Meeting for excuse me, November 8th will now come to order. The time is 6:01. Maria, would you please take attendance?
Yes. Dr. Dolores Calaf,
Sorry. Present.
Edgar de Leon,
Present.
Arlene Garcia,
Present.
Juana Matias,
Present.
Maria Muller,
Present.
Mayor Brian de Peña, is not here today. Chair Patricia Mariano.
Present. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, according to the agenda, we should be having executive session, and there are no items for executive session this evening, so we'll continue with the agenda. Maria tells me there is no public participation this evening, so we'll move on to the chair's report. I'm excited to announce that the ALMA Advisory Group will be leading the search for the next superintendent in Lawrence Public Schools. ALMA is a national executive search firm with a Black Latino leader. The organization utilizes a community-centered, transparent, inclusive, an equity-focused approach to finding talented leaders for school systems. ALMA will facilitate a planning process with the board to conduct the search and lead focus groups and stakeholder meetings to enable authentic engagement in determining the right candidate profile for the next leader of the Lawrence Public Schools. I would like to thank Juana Matias for being part of the selection process for this vendor, and I'm excited about their capacity to lead a high-quality process. Juana, at this time, is there anything you would like to add from your participation in the vendor selection process?
Pat, I think you've covered everything perfectly well stated. I think we've hired the best consultant to lead our community, to partner with the school committee here, the LAE Board, to ensure that we are really positioning ourselves to hire the next superintendent that's going to continue to advance student outcomes here in Lawrence. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. The LAE will form a superintendent search subcommittee that will support the facilitation and coordination of the search process. Their role will include identifying key stakeholders, planning community forums and focus groups, and supporting the development of the job description and leadership attributes for the ideal candidate. The members of the subcommittee will be myself, Maria Muller, and Juana Matias. While the subcommittee will play a key role in planning and coordinating the process, there are additional important opportunities for additional stakeholder voices in this process. The next step in the process will be to identify a selection committee. This will be made up of a variety of stakeholders throughout the school system and community. The selection committee will support the review of the applications and identification of finalists. Additionally, we will engage in a variety of stakeholder and community meetings to solicit community input on the desired qualifications and competencies of the next superintendent. The first order of business for our subcommittee would be to meet with the vendor and establish the selection process. I will regularly provide important updates to the LAE during these meetings. A report on the superintendent search will become a standing agenda item. If you think of any questions, the board, and you would like the subcommittee to at the meeting with the vendor, please forward them to me at your convenience. Are there any questions at this time? Okay, hearing none. At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to Superintendent Rodriguez for his reports.
Madam Chair, apologies, I do have a question. What's the timeline in terms of us figuring out what the final membership will look like for the search committee? Do we have a timeline internally in terms of?
No, I don't. I think that's something we need to discuss when we meet with the vendor. So I'm hoping that the subcommittee will meet very, very soon with the vendor, and we can lay out all the plans for the selection.
Sounds great, thank you.
You're welcome. Superintendent?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good evening, members of the board. We have some updates tonight. We're going to start just with a request for a vote to accept a donation to the Ninth Grade Academy at Lawrence High School from the Mockingbird Foundation in the amount of $2,500. And this donation is to be used in furtherance of music education. And what we'll be looking for from the board is a motion to approve this $2,500 donation from the Mockingbird Foundation to the ninth grade at Lawrence High School.
Any questions from the board concerning this donation? Superintendent, I have a question. I was reading the letter from the group, and it says, "We hope to help shift attention from the damage suffered from your recent tragedy to the recovery efforts going forward." What do they mean by that?
I believe they are referring to, and I can ask Ms. Melendez to elaborate further if I'm incorrect, but I believe they are looking to assist us with, we had a flood in the Performing Arts Center last spring, about 7 months ago. We had a burst pipe over there, and it damaged some equipment, some musical instruments and things of that sort.
So this is to replace that equipment?
Just in the furtherance of music education in general, could be some equipment, could be other things as well.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to accept the Mockingbird donation as outlined by the superintendent.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Edgar. Maria, please call the roll.
Dr. Dolores Calaf,
Yes?
Edgar de Leon,
Yes.
Arlene Garcia,
Yes.
Juana Matias,
Yes.
Maria Muller,
Yes.
Chair Patricia Mariano.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much, and again, we appreciate the Mockingbird Foundation for their generous gift to Lawrence High School. Next, we did want to discuss with the board our homeschool policy. Families in the Commonwealth of children between the ages of 6 to 16 have the right to homeschool their children if they so desire. And each local educational agency has to set policy on homeschool policy. So we had been checking in with our legal folks, and we have a section 3 of our homeschool policy that we're asking for a revision on. We ask families to provide a birth certificate to verify the age of their children when they are in the homeschool process approval. We have been notified by our folks at legal that it's not necessary. And we would be asking the board to take a vote just to remove Section 3 from our current homeschool policy and leave the rest of the policy as is. Other aspects of the policy is they need to provide proof that they live in Lawrence. They need to provide an educational plan for how they're going to educate their child at home. And also they have to give us an explanation of how they're going to give an end-of-the-year assessment to us of how much their kids have learned. Some folks use a standardized test, other folks bring in binders with work samples and such things as that. But we would be asking at this point for a vote on removing Section 3 from our homeschool policy regarding verification of age of the children in the policy.
Any questions?
Superintendent, question, is this a general practice by other school districts not to have Section 3 in their homeschool policies?
Yes, that's correct, Ms. Matias. We did check around and we checked with legal to see, what other districts did. And they did inform us that, it was not necessary to ask for a birth certificate in this process.
Then my only further follow-up question is, in terms of measuring outcomes, if you're not aware of the child's age, how do you know that they're meeting academic metrics for their grade level, AKA for their age?
So, we do rely on the families to be truthful about how old their children are. Like if they say they have an 8-year-old, we are relying on them to be truthful that their child is 8 years old. And then we measure, typical 8-year-old, usually students who are in second grade or third grade, and what they should be learning, and, what the curriculum that they're using, time for learning or other things such as that, when the parents provide an end-of-the-year report for the year to measure their progress.
Thank you. Do you have an estimation in terms of what percentage of our population actually is being homeschooled in
I
Lawrence?
believe right now we have 39 families, 39 students who are being homeschooled, and we have over 13,000 students enrolled. So it's not a huge number, but we do want to be responsive to families who are filing homeschool plans and are, asked us to take a look at this. And we did, based on their request.
Any more questions? Superintendent, I just have a question for clarification. When a new student enters the district into a school, do we ask for a birth certificate?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So we're relying on the parent being truthful as far as age. I don't know, it just doesn't seem
Feel
right to me.
Yeah.
I-
I don't know how many school districts we have in the state, how many actually have Section 3 removed from their policy?
I would say, based on our conversations with the legal counsel, I would say the majority of them do not have something that is similar to Section 3. We did take a look at a couple of school districts in the area as well, and they did have similar language as far as, parents writing down what the educational plan is and the end-of-the-year assessment and things like that, but they did not have something similar to number 3 where they have to provide proof of the student's age.
All right, any further questions?
I guess my question is actually about the assessment that families have to provide, because if I'm correct, our students sophomore year have to pass MCAS. Their standards is based on MCAS, but then a family at home can provide a portfolio?
Could provide, some provide a portfolio, others provide like a Iowa Test of Basic Skills or a California Achievement Test, similar things such as that. Others provide a report if they're doing an online learning program.
Yeah.
They provide a usage report of how many hours and how many standards the student has mastered on the online resource, things like that. It's very open. They can submit what they choose to. The homeschool law in the Commonwealth is very broad in that sense.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the homeschool policy, Section 3.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Maria, please call the roll.
Dr. Dolores Calaf,
I abstain.
Edgar de Leon,
Yes.
Arlene Garcia,
Yes.
Juana Matias,
Abstain?
Maria Muller,
Yes.
Chair Patricia Mariano.
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to district updates at this point with some teaching and learning updates. And at this time, we're going to call some district educators up who are going to give us a walkthrough of our DCAP, our District Curriculum Accommodation Plan. So at this time, I think we'll try to pull that slide deck up, and we'll also welcome Emily Haynes, Jamie Jenks, and Melissa Melendez to see if they can come up to the podium and walk the board through what our DCAP is and why we have done so much work on it recently.
Good evening. The District Curriculum Accommodation Plan was, we engaged in a 8-month-long process to update the DCAP. The DCAP is not something new. It's not a new document. It is a document that we've had in place, and this was just a time to renew it. The team consisted of 22 staff members from across the district. We had educators, we had members from central office, members from administration that really took the time to engage in work with Alan Bloom that supported us in this process to rewrite it and to make it much more family-friendly. So what is the DCAP? The DCAP is a document required by Mass General Law. It is intended to be a roadmap for classroom supports, where educators can use this document as a Tier 1 intervention to provide identified interventions for all of our learners.
So in building the document, we really wanted to focus on how it would help support our school community and thinking about all of our priority members. So thinking about our families at home, we wanted to make sure it was a friendly document for them to use, and so they could access pieces about our curriculum, different school-based events, as well as district resources that they could use to support learning at home. We thought about administrators and kind of collecting a list of best practices that we're seeing in classrooms that they could highlight across the district. For general education teachers, as Melissa mentioned, it's a Tier 1 piece that can really support all students and ensure that student engagement is high as possible, as well as achievement. And then thinking specifically about our MLs and the ML teachers, there's a highlighted section that supports those teachers with different types of instructions and pieces for growth for both ML and SLIFE students.
Just as a timeline, so you have an idea, in February, as Melissa had already mentioned, Alan Bloom, who is a special education expert, we worked with him to support our revision of the DCAP. So from May to August, as Melissa again already mentioned, there were 26 of us, 22 of us from central office, general education teachers, special education teachers, multilingual learners. Teachers were also there, and we worked together to research what DCAPs looked like in other districts, and we used what other DCAPs looked like that we thought were well done and revised ours to look that way. The other thing that we talked about was shifting the focus from the DCAP plan should really be something that we use with all students in the general education setting. Before, it was mostly housed in the Office of Student Support, so now it's going to be more of a living document within the schools in all of the different areas. From September to November, myself and the other people who were part of the DCAP committee, we've gone from school to school. Yesterday was our last day, so we completed all of the rollout with teachers. So all teachers have been part of that rollout and know about the document. And moving forward, now you can see that on the LPS website, that's on the next slide as well, that it is already uploaded, so it is there for parents and families in English and in Spanish. And then moving forward, we'll be engaging families through the Family Resource Center to be rolling this out with parents. As Jamie had already mentioned, that this is also a rollout for parents, so that's kind of our next steps moving forward. We're presenting to you, and then hopefully between now and the spring, we'll work with Family Resource Center and the individual schools to roll out the DCAP to parents.
Questions?
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Edgar.
Thank you guys for actually engaging in the work, really appreciate it. You mentioned comparing what we were doing to other districts and then making shifts according. What were some of the shifts specifically that you guys saw that were needed after evaluating what other districts did?
I think the first noticeable difference is access to the DCAP, where in the past, our DCAP was, first of all, our DCAP was extremely long and not user-friendly, and it wasn't easily accessible on our website. This document, as Emily mentioned, is going to be a living document with actual links to interventions so that people can interact with the document much easier, as well as our educators. It's much easier for our educators to access the DCAP as opposed to having a hard copy and running out of copies and et cetera.
I think a key thing to stress, again, as was stated a few minutes ago, the real shift, again, the revision is was a big effort, but the shift really is in mindset from thinking that this is the work of a special educator or a pull-out teacher to this is everybody's work, the classroom teacher, paraprofessional. You know, everybody should be looking at this and using accommodations when and if students need them. And I think, you know, the revision work was very important, like Ms. Melendez said, to make it user-friendly, but also the mind shift move from, you know, it's maybe this other person's job to it's everybody's job, and we should all be looking at this and using accommodations when appropriate.
Dave, can you click on the link, and could you pull up the accommodation plan, the decap?
On the last slide. Sorry. I also had the same.
A question, it's a written document that people can reference. You know, I assume teachers are overburdened with work, just trying to meet student outcomes. Is there training that's provided in addition to, I just, the likelihood of someone going online and taking the time to read this and train themselves, any intel you can provide on that?
Yeah, so as I had said on the timeline, in November, like from the beginning of the school year till November, we've had trainings. So teachers have all gone through something very similar to this. And then every school will have a DCAP liaison. So I am at Gilmet. So I will be the liaison for Gilmet. Jamie will be for SLE. So every school has an identified liaison. And a lot of what you'll see in here is just stuff that we're already doing in the schools. So I agree with you, it's not like an extra, it's more of like a resource to go through. And hopefully it will be like a living document that we use throughout the school year. It also gives the parents an idea of what resources are available to their student, as well as some of the curriculum that we already use in the school.
Great, so I assume it's in Spanish and other languages?
Yes, yep. As of right now, it's in English and Spanish on the website.
And as a follow-up question, in terms of your work as liaisons, does that mean, because it is active, that means that there can also be changes. Are we then actively communicating with families? Because it's one thing to, present it and then go, and then say, come visit, but obviously reminders and actively pushing families to the resource, because it's an awesome resource, but that part of it in general.
I think that's the hope rolling out with the Family Resource Center and building those pieces. So once we introduce it to the parents, each of the schools with their building, how they have their meetings and resource with the parents to check up and continue those pieces, that's our kind of next step in going forward and making sure. And that one of the big shifts too was this document wasn't provided in Spanish originally, and we were really adamant about making sure that was available for them. So that's our next step going forward.
Awesome.
But absolutely, it needs to be a conversation.
Thank you.
If you can't, Dave, it's okay. I took time today to read it, and it's a rather lengthy document. And I think it would be important for all of us to have some kind of a tutorial on what that decap looks like and the different accommodations that are in it. So maybe sometime in the future, we could schedule something, Superintendent. Oh, here it is right now. It's about 20 pages, I believe. And I just wonder how we're communicating all this to families and how easy, it looked difficult to me when you talk about the RTI process and all the other different components of it. So
I think it's important to know as well that like each individual school is responsible for rolling out the DCAP and what that will look like in their school. I can give an example for 9th grade. In 9th grade, we are set up in small learning communities, so we have 6 cohorts. And on a weekly basis, the cohorts meet to discuss students. So that is the time that we have allocated to discuss student supports, and the DCAP is what guides those conversations. Sometimes we invite parents to those meetings, so for us, we have to continue to find ways and strategize around how we are going to educate our families with the DCAP. Like we're planning on doing a workshop just on DCAP and having a follow-up Q&A. But you're absolutely right that this needs to be a continued conversation that we have with our teams. But it has to live at the school level on what we're doing with our families.
I still believe it would be good for all of us to try to understand that document, and hopefully in the future, one of our meetings, we could take some time to do that. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you guys for doing the work and putting it in Spanish, obviously really important for our community.
No problem.
Thank
We're gonna
you.
look into getting it into other languages as well.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent?
Thank you. We appreciate Emily, Jamie, and Melissa being available tonight to present on the DCAP as well. At this time, we're going to present an update on pre-K, our pre-K efforts, and we're going to ask Jillian Davey, Larissa Perez, and Cheryl Travers to join us as we kind of walk the board through some updates on pre-K and our efforts for our youngest learners.
Good evening, Chairperson Mariano, Superintendent Rodriguez, and members of the LAE Board. My name is Cheryl Travers. I've been a preschool teacher here in Lawrence for over 25 years. Last year, I took the role of expert educator for early childhood, which focuses, really took the lens, and we did a lot of work with preschool, and we're happy here to present to you a look into all the great work we've done and some of the things that we're working on to continue. I'm presenting here with Jillian Davey and Larissa Perez. Do you want to introduce yourself? Okay, so the Lawrence Public Schools are committed to creating high-quality learning opportunities that meet the development of the whole child. We strive to create an inclusive environment that encourages children of all abilities to be lifelong learners and meet their full potential. We collaborate with family members to build individual experiences for each child. We work together with our community partners to support families and students, and we believe in developing welcoming relationships with families as they enter the Lawrence Public Schools. That's our mission, and then here are our early childhood centers. We have the Breen, the Hennessy, the Lawler, the Lawrence Family Public Academy, the LAE, and the Rollins. So all of those schools have preschools in them. Just a little bit about teaching and learning. All integrated preschool classrooms are implementing the pre-K for all curriculum. We really worked hard to get all of our centers to have the consistency in the curriculum and the implementation of that. We have provided professional development on the science of reading and coaching on the practices that they learned within that professional development. About 75% of our pre-K teachers have taken the course. Again, we had 20 last year and 5 enrolled this year, and we've had 7 paraprofessionals enrolled in the course as well. All pre-K classrooms are implementing the Heggerty Phonemic Awareness curriculum. Each early childhood center has a instructional coach. That's new this year in every school, and those coaches are receiving coaching support through Impact Coaching Partners. We also have an early childhood cohort that meets its principals and school teams. They work on pedagogy. They collaborate with each other. It's a great, I think we meet like 4 or 5 times a year. And then we definitely have made a professional development plan for teachers and paraprofessionals. I just wanted to highlight one of the great things that just happened. Some of you may have been actually participated in this. We had Read for the Record on Thursday, October 26th. All pre-K and K classrooms district-wide received copies in English and Spanish of the book with lots of love. We had 17 guest readers in those classrooms throughout from the district and the community. Some of them read in English, some of them were read in Spanish. They were about 50% English and Spanish, and it reached 1,465 students across 11 schools. So we had Superintendent Juan Rodriguez, Deputy Superintendent Dr. Melissa Spash, LAE Board Member Arlene Garcia, School Committee Member Jonathan Guzman, our CFO Ariel Perez, Director of Behavioral Health Brittany Lynch, Frost Middle School Principal John Patterson, and Jeffrey Sanchez, who is a former representative from the Mass State House. So it was a great time, and the kids enjoyed themselves.
Good evening. Here we have a little bit of a timeline just to talk you guys through, the work that we've been doing, the work that we plan to continue working on. As Cheryl mentioned, she came in August 2022 as our expert educator role. That's kind of where things picked up, so to speak. We got the ball rolling, and then we've involved more and more departments and really getting input from across the district, which has been phenomenal. We started our visits, we figured out, what's working well, what's not working so well. Jillian Davey, our early childhood manager, who's here as well, came onto us into the team January, February of last year. And then in the spring is really when we began our biggest moves of collaborating, again, the Office of Student Support Services alongside curriculum and instruction, and really figuring out, where can we get input, where can we hear from principals, hearing, again, what is working, what is not working. So we had principals who met with us. We collaborated with Family Resource Center as well when it came to attendance. So we took on a lot of initiatives. And then in the spring, so May, June, we made our recommendations to the leadership team and moved forward with some of the bullets that we have below, which I'll speak about a little bit more on the following slide. Thank you. So again, our early childhood team, the three of us up here, we've been collaborating. Again, we've taken the lead on this with a lot of support from across the district. So we have multiple departments involved. We're really hearing from the building level all the way up to here what we need to be working on. And one of the biggest things that we've heard as feedback is how important our screeners are. So when we have children coming to us from across Lawrence and we don't know them yet, we need to get to know them. So we have them come in. We do a screening for every single student who's coming in to enroll for pre-K. We provided professional development opportunities for the teachers and paraprofessionals on what exactly this screening tool is. It is the speed dial, is the name of that screener. We talked them through exactly how we're tracking that data, what we're doing with that data, what it's going to look like. And some of what we are doing with that data is really figuring out how many of our students are going to come into us and immediately really need some interventions for support. Some of these students, we might say, I'm going to jump to the next bullet, might need an evaluation for special education services. So if we complete that screener, we collect our background information, we're meeting with the families, and we're seeing that this hasn't been caught yet because this child hasn't been in school, but we have some significant concerns. We want to really take action immediately. We have evaluations for our early childhood families taking place across the district in all of our early childhood buildings this year, which is really exciting. That's been really successful for us so far. You can see here what we're calling our pre-team, kind of lining up with that early childhood piece. We have a really phenomenal team. We have physical therapists, occupational therapists, board-certified behavior analysts. The list goes on, but really these are the staff that are working with the families to help us figure out what supports do we need to be putting in place for these new learners coming to us so that we're really prepared from day one to support them. And then lastly at the bottom, sorry, I'll be quick on that one. Lastly, on the bottom, just a QR code, child find. So basically, in a nutshell, child find is making sure that any child with a disability in the city of Lawrence, we find them. We find them, we support them, we put supports into place. And part of that is making that accessible for families. So that is now on our website, English and Spanish, and families are able to go there and really submit information to us saying, hey, these are my concerns, this is what we know or don't know, and then we reach out to the family with our next steps.
So I'm going to talk to you about the attendance program that we've been putting into place. Attendance procedures and supports have been created to address chronic absenteeism in our preschool classrooms in collaboration with the Family Resource Center this year. Our pre-K attendance policy was reviewed and updated in the spring of 2023. That was part of our big project that we worked on, and we shared and discussed with all entering families at enrollment with the FRC and registration department, and shared with returning families at the school level for children that have already been enrolled. School attendance designees have been identified at each school so we know who to contact if there is a concern with an attendance agreement or attendance concerns. We did hold an attendance refresher meeting with the attendance liaisons. This was done 10/27, so about a week ago. There is a pre-K shared Google Drive that has all the resources, not only for attendance, but anything else that has to do with early childhood. It has a lot of great resources for schools and families. We did create a pre-K attendance team that meets monthly to review monthly attendance. We are also building capacity. Capacity is continuing to increase as referrals and enrollment numbers are climbing. We're monitoring with the support of community partners, child care partners, and early intervention agencies. We did open 6 new integrated pre-K classrooms across the district last year, 50% more than we added in the previous 2 years combined. The integrated classrooms are made up of 8 general education students and 7 special ed students. The Lawler, LFPA, Rollins, and LAE all got new classrooms. We invested in pre-K furniture and materials for these brand-new building spaces. And these are some of the other projects that we're working on this year. We're working on attendance. We're using the monthly meetings of the pre-K attendance team to operationalize new attendance procedures. We're working on placement proposal. We're minimizing the number of transitions that students and families have in pre-K and K. We're working on family and community engagement to foster relationships with community child care centers, child care circuit, family resource center, and we're continuing to attend the PK3 meetings with other community agencies. We're addressing pre-K capacity and continuously monitoring EI numbers in district pre-K enrollment. The Commonwealth Preschool Partnership Initiative, we're currently working towards implementation of itinerant services while continuing to provide access to high-quality preschool experiences across the district. And we're working on transitions from EC to elementary schools by creating a streamlined database for sending and receiving schools. And that's what we have.
Thank you, ladies. Any questions?
I have a couple questions. Thank you so much for being here tonight and presenting. So what is our current capacity? Like, how many students could we enroll today if we had parents lined up at the door ready to enroll their pre-K students?
I'm trying to do the math in
I
my
know,
head.
mine too.
It's okay, and if you don't know the answer, we can
I
follow
was
up.
going to say, yeah, we'll have to get back to you on that for an exact number.
How many students do we currently have enrolled in our pre-K program to date?
That room attendance? We'll
today.
get back to you on that answer.
Okay,
Because
not
they
a
weren't
problem.
in school yesterday, so.
Okay, that's not a
have
problem at
tried.
all. Bilingual education, I assume that the majority of the students are coming from Spanish-speaking households. Is that a part of the curriculum?
So, yep, do you want to speak to that? Yes.
Yeah, so each preschool classroom has a paraprofessional in it as well, so most classrooms have that bilingual piece to it, and our curriculum is really, the pre-K for all curriculum is pretty culturally relevant. It touches on many issues. Students coming from foster family, like there's the books, the literature is it's just amazing. I'm happy to share that with you guys if you're interested. But it touches on all kinds of things like that. Different types of families, different situations, and different cultures.
Super helpful. So our pre-K program, are we starting at 3 years of age, 4 years of age? What's the enrollment?
Yep.
Age requirement?
Yeah, so children can, usually they come off EI and they can start preschool at 3 years old. So we have some students that are 3 that are coming in, and some students that missed that cutoff, it's September 2nd, and they are 5. So those integrated classrooms have a variety of ages.
Okay, and then I'm impressed by the fact that we've seen 50% increase in classrooms. You went to 6 classrooms. Is that because we have a demand, or superintendent, is that because we have a strategic plan that we want to grow our pre-K program across Lawrence, because we know those are the most formative years for our students?
I think it's a combination of both. I think we've created a plan because we saw the need for additional spaces. Obviously during COVID, when most folks were home, referrals slowed down, early intervention slowed down, all these other things. Then we get back in school, and all of a sudden we have a bunch of these referrals and early intervention, and maybe 4-year-old students who had been at home but weren't enrolled in pre-K. So I think, our plan is being developed based on what we've seen as the needs over the last 18 months, which have grown pretty significantly, I believe, which led us to increase the number of classrooms being opened. I think in about 18 months, when we have the new buildings online, we'll have even more capacity to add additional spaces. When we think about, the first, second, and third floor at the old high school are currently occupied by students who are going to be at the Oliver or the LAE school. So that's about 30 classrooms. What are we going to do with that? Would it be an alternative program? Would it be additional pre-K, things like that? Some of the students who are currently at the Lawler, for example, will also be attending either the Oliver or the LAE when they open up. So is the Lawler going to be, 150 seats there? Is that going to be available for all 3-year-olds? So we have, we're going to be thinking about that over the next 18 months as, the investments in the new buildings are going to pay off, not just for the students who are going to the Oliver and the LAE, but also for the students who are going to be able to add additional classrooms for, as those students move from their temporary spaces over to their new spaces.
That's super helpful. And in the case that, those spaces open and we decide there is a demand, there is value, we're seeing these students excel and enter our public school systems with a stronger foundation, do we have the money in our budget to be able to fund additional pre-K?
Yeah, and we believe so. Again, we did get a pretty sizable increase in our Chapter 70 and also in SOA. I think, we would target any additional funding we get in those formulas towards pre-K, as it is the building block of everything that we're doing in the rest of the district. I did just run our pre-K enrollment. I right now have 512 students across the district. Some of those may be students that we're providing services to, but might not be in one of our programs right now, as we do work with our partners in the community group and also at GLCAC with some of the students that we service. But we have about 512, and of course, there's more students who would like to be enrolled, and as soon as we have the space and capacity, we'll open up classrooms, because it is a great investment, early literacy, early numeracy, students getting those social emotional skills, productive play, all of those things. My daughter attended preschool at the Breen. It was a wonderful experience for her. So again, we want to make sure that we're offering that to as many families as possible. Maybe down the line, in a couple of years, if we have additional space and additional funding, maybe we talk about all-day pre-K for our students too. That's something that we would be talking about down the line, because pre-K is a half day, and oftentimes our parents have to make difficult choices of, do I take a slot in a daycare where they can be there all day and I can go to work all day, or do I take a 3-hour pre-K slot, which is great, but I have to figure out childcare for the rest of the day and things like that. So I think going down the line, we would want to think, how can we expand opportunities, open more classrooms, and maybe perhaps go to a full-day pre-K model as we do for our kindergarten students. My daughter was able to go to pre-K full day as I was a district employee. Our Jump Start program offers that to employees, a terrific program, as I said, and we would love to make sure that everybody in the community gets that same opportunity, so.
Thank you.
I have I'm thinking about two things, and one, it has to do with opportunity for dual language for these early childhood children. Where are we in that goal? And second, the connecting, the linkage between family, daycare, and centers like Head Starts and both into the school setting. I think is
yeah.
part of what you were saying.
No,
about
definitely. And Jillian can add on about, the partnership through CPPI that we have with the community group and GLCAC, and then just other daycare providers. At this point, for dual language, we're looking at starting off next year with some kindergarten classes. We have not explored the possibility of dual language at early childhood yet. Could possibly be something that we think about down the line. But as of right now, our planning for dual language is going to be starting at the kindergarten, I believe Oliver Elementary, and also the Arlington next year is what we're proposing. And again, Jillian can talk more about how she works with, community agencies and other folks, in collaboration with, community providers and daycares.
Yeah, the CPPI grant works with the community partners, and it works with, there's 3 sections of the grant. One is aligning curriculum across the district between daycares and the district, and then also there's the second piece of it that's just access to high-quality preschool programs throughout the district, and that's currently what we're working on now, is making sure that kids have access to a high-quality preschool program, whether that is a family child care provider, a center-based provider, or like a Head Start type program. We're working with the Child Care Center on Andover Street. We're working with those kids and some of those teachers providing professional development. We're doing class observations, making sure that the children are in a high-quality program. And then we're also working with the community group. We've got a couple classrooms on Ballard Way that we're doing the same thing with, and then we're also working with some of their classrooms over at their LEAP program as well. And then the third part of the grant is to introduce itinerant services. So that's where you would have a team go in from the district into the daycare providers to provide special ed services for the children at the daycare versus having them get bused to public school for 2.5 hours. So that's something that is a strand of the grant that we are working towards. So that way we wouldn't have to worry about full daycare because they'd be able to get their full services at their daycare setting versus having a half day and having busing back and forth.
I think, being part of the CPPI last couple of years, I think the itinerant services are key, because we want to make sure that students are not on a bus, that, the district can send a team to where the students are, and so they can stay put where they are with their friends, with all the teachers that they know, but still receive their services and not have to get on a bus or a van to a place where we have folks available. So, and I think also, the curriculum alignment, I think, is important. The district schools and then students who are over in the community group or GLCAC, probably close to 100% of those students are going to end up at a school in Lawrence, whether it's a district school or a charter school. So we want to make sure that we're working together with our community partners to make sure that, like Jillian said, everyone's getting equity and experience and good curricular materials that are going to prepare them for kindergarten.
Maria?
Thank you for that. Actually, you just took the words out of my mouth, and I think we have the right team, too. I know personally some of your team members here, and they have a collaborative mindset. They are very eager or willing to work with community providers, and I want to thank you for the idea of providing services at the community centers themselves. It was a huge amount of work for the children, or just not productive for the children to get on the bus and back, and it minimizes the impact for the child. I would love to continue thinking about ways to include other, in addition to the children or programs covered by this grant, just include other centers. We have a good number of providers in this city that with children that don't have access to the great work that you are doing for that age, and that maybe could benefit for just small efforts, in terms of additional services, training for the teachers, and then just open access to them, because some children don't have the opportunity to attend, obviously because of work reasons for the family, or just, it could be a number of reasons, but yeah, I would love to continue impacting that age. I am biased, but I do think that is the most formative time of a child's life, and it's going to be the biggest, it's going to have the biggest impact on the long-term success of our schools.
I had a question for Larissa. Yes. Hi, Larissa. Just very quick question about Speed Dial 3.
Yes.
Cool name. In terms of the data we're collecting, because it is in fact impactful in terms of moving forward, what actual data are we looking at when we're having families and children use that?
That's a great question. So the speed dial looks at a few different aspects of a child's development. So basically what we're doing is we're having the families bring in their child, we're having an interpreter with the family if necessary, and we're looking at all sorts of information from have they had early intervention services, have they never had early intervention services, do we know of any type of disability, and then the screener itself, they ask them to do a series of tasks. So there are things related to finding gross motor skills. There are things like, can you identify any colors? Can you match these shapes? So there's a pretty big range of tasks that they're being asked to complete. And then that information becomes a standardized score. So that score, alongside this background information, observations from the teachers, that's the information that we're tracking to see what do we need to do next.
Thank you. And I had just one quick question for Cheryl. I'm getting the names right today. Thank you. You mentioned that 70% of folks who are teaching have received professional development. And so is there a plan to make sure that everyone is up to date in terms
For the science of reading?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're actually right now thinking about next year and how to get everybody
Awesome.
up and trained. We've had courses offered in the summer for teachers to take, And we offered it last year, and we're offering it this year, and we're already starting to think about next year and how we're going to keep rolling that out.
And just a follow-up question in terms of you said you've been working in Lawrence Public School for 25 years?
Yes.
That's pretty awesome. Thank you for your.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I think just to get
I
back
will,
to
I'm
Maria's
sorry.
point, right, like, I think sensible folks agree that, you know, students sitting on a bus, they're probably not the best use of their time, right? And them instead receiving the services in the school that they're at makes much more sense. We're going to keep working on that. Larissa, could you just give the folks just an example of what early intervention would be maybe for a 2-year-old? If folks don't understand what early intervention is, like, what's an example of an early intervention that a 2-year-old student may get?
Absolutely. So we have a lot of kids coming in. I would say majority of the kids that we're cutting in have come from early intervention services, and really that's a big range of things. Sometimes it will say that the child had a speech delay, excuse me. So oftentimes they'll have a speech therapist working with the family. Sometimes it's more generalized. They'll have a developmental specialist working with the family. A lot of times for early intervention, it's a big range of not just having that therapeutic service, but also working with the family. So what we get, we have individualized education plans, our IEPs for our special education students. Kids who are coming in from early intervention have an individualized family support plan. And it's a little bit different in the sense that it really is supporting a bigger range of things, I would say, outside of just their education. So they're looking at how can we help this family access diapers? How can we help the family access enrolling for school when the child is old enough? So they come in with a range of different services, but again, speech would be the biggest one that we see, and that developmental specialist as well. Those are the two biggest areas of support.
And question, the early intervention, it starts where the pediatrician will probably see something and then, refer that?
More often than not, yes. It can be a pediatrician who makes that referral. It can be, if there's any DCF involvement, they can make that type of referral. So really any community agency who's working with the family and who's aware of those concerns for the child is able to make that referral. And then similarly, so kind of the next step of that when they get to school age is that child find piece that we were discussing before. So again, that's something that we'll get referrals from pediatricians, we'll get referrals from an outside therapist, really, again, any agency working with the family.
Wanna go ahead?
The referrals make sense. So if a family is interested in enrolling their 3-year-old who doesn't have any form of need, how do they engage with you? How is your program made available in our community for people to be aware of it?
Absolutely, good question. So if a student does not have a disability, so they're a general education student, they would reach out to the Family Resource Center. Again, this is all on the website that there are different steps for the family of what information they need to provide. Family Resource Center reaches back out to the family, follows up on those steps. We have some specialists who work kind of collaboratively between Office of Student Support Services and Family Resource Center to enroll pre-K students alone, because it is such a large part of our population and really a specialized piece. Students will eventually get put on a wait list if there aren't any general education seats open, but again, they are able to get on those lists, get into the classrooms, and right now we're moving smoothly.
One more. I just want to brag a little bit and just announce that Cheryl is actually part of the board of the Department of Early Education and Care in the state of Massachusetts. And myself, I'm also a member, so it's a great thing. I mean, I think it's being recognized that Lawrence, it's a different type of city with regards of collaboration and just open mind, about just, exactly, just collaborating with each other and maximizing our resources. And we're both the only early education representatives at the Board of Early Education and Care are from Lawrence. So I think that's a big recognition to the city and for the mindset of the city. So we have a big opportunity here to continue that.
Congrats.
Yeah, I think, the Commonwealth has put, through the preschool expansion grant from many years ago and the CPPI more recently, they're putting a lot of emphasis on early learning. Senator Payano, one of his planks was expanding preschool opportunities for our students. I think a lot of folks are thinking deeply about how to increase opportunities for our youngest learners. And, we're going to do whatever we can to expand classroom space, invest in furniture, training for our staff members to make sure the students are getting high-quality early education, both academics and then also social, emotional, and relational skills that will help them their whole lives.
How do we compare to other communities in terms of their pre-K programs? I don't know, Cheryl, or even you, Maria. Are we in our early stages of developing our pre-K program?
I've been doing this for a long time, so we've had integrated preschool for a long time. I have to say, though, our integrated preschool is free to families. A lot of the surrounding communities, the special ed students come for free, but they charge the families for the general ed seats. So we are free. We don't charge any families.
Excellent, but in terms of like 512, like,
Oh.
how long have we had our program in Lawrence? It's clearly continuing to grow in terms of student population. Is it nascent or no, fully developed? And we just haven't had the capacity to increase enrollment just because of funding or?
I think the district's made a great effort to make sure that when we need to open up spots, when enrollment is getting, we're looking at numbers. Jillian's doing a really good job at communicating with EI, that when we're watching those numbers, and if we need, they've opened up those classrooms, and we've always, as far as back as I can remember, we've had integrated preschools. We've expanded. When I first started, it was just the Breen and the Lawler, and at the time, and now we've expanded to 6 schools. So I think that we do a good job at keeping up with it, keeping up with the numbers, looking ahead, and planning.
What's our wait list?
We don't have a wait list right now.
So any student that's reached out to the
Yes.
city has been able to find a seat.
Yes.
That's excellent.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
We've also been, just to kind of piggyback on that, we've also collaborated with local districts to find out exactly what you were asking. What are you guys putting into place that's been successful for you? Looking back at not necessarily the speed dial, that was something that the district had before, but the DAISY, which is one of our evaluation tools for special education for kids that young, that was something that we got that information really by asking other districts, again, what is working, what do we need to adapt?
We all set? Thank you, ladies, very much. This
Thank you,
sounds so
guys.
exciting.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for everybody, our
Absolutely.
families and our kids. Thank you.
Thank you
guys.
very much.
Appreciate it.
At this time, we have an MSBA project update. So I think we have folks from Answer, SMMA, and Consigli here to update us on the Oliver School project. And I also believe our Chief Operating Officer, Adonis Hernandez, might have a quick update on the tipping, the tipping event that we're going to have over at the Oliver in the near future. Thank you, Adonis.
Good evening, members of the LAE Board. I was just corrected. We've been saying tipping off, and it's topping off. So that explains why it's been sounding weird. So the team will go over the slides and just give you a more in-depth update as to where we are with the construction of the Oliver School. And just to elaborate on the topping off ceremony for the Oliver School, that has been scheduled for November 29th. I share the date to let you know that you will get an email. Members of the LAE, you will receive an email from the superintendent's office from Maria Cruz inviting you with a more formal invitation. So we just wanted to put it in your radar, so when you did see that email, you had a little bit more information as to what that is about. We'll have some students come over, and it's an important milestone of the project that the team and the construction team celebrates. We'll have the opportunity to sign off that last piece of steel that's going to go up on our building. So it should be quite interesting, and we're looking forward to it. And with that said, we do have members of the team here, Christian and Steve and Helen, representing the construction team, our OPM, and our designers. So I'll let them give you a little presentation.
Thank you, Adonis. Thank you, LAE Board, for having us here to present you with a quick update on the Oliver School Building Project. As Adonis mentioned, my name is Christian Cuervo with the Answer Advisory, your owner's project manager on the job here. We want to start off with giving you a quick and brief timeline of the construction that's been going on. As you all probably know, in January of 2022, we mobilized on site with the construction team. 2022 pretty much covered our abatement and demolition of the existing school, the existing Oliver School, with also some preparations to assist with the excavation of the soils of where the addition to the Oliver School will live. At the beginning of this year, the construction team actually began excavating all the soils and dirt that were on site where the addition is going to go. As they were excavating, they also began pouring the foundation mat slab and the foundation concrete walls. And in August of 2023, they began the steel erection. If you've driven by Haverhill Street or walked by Campagnon Commons, you've probably seen the steel going up and the big red crane that's in the back of the Oliver School there. Looking ahead a little bit here, as Odanis mentioned, on November 29th, we will be having the topping off ceremony, so it's a big milestone and exciting date for the city and for the district and for the community of Lawrence. A little more ahead, right around springtime of 2024, the district, with the assistance of the designers, will begin the FF&E selection and procurement process, so the time where the district will select furniture, some fixtures and equipment that will be going into the new school. And lastly, we still are tracking a June 2025 substantial completion date for construction, with the goal of opening the school for the fall 2025 school year. Thank you. Hand it off to Helen here.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Helen Fantini. I'm an architect and project manager with SMMA, your designers for this project. While we had put our virtual pencils down on design of the building for over a year now, there's still some processes that we have to look forward to as we start to look towards completion of the building. So FF&E, let me decode that for you. It is furniture, fixtures, and equipment. The way I've heard it best described is if you take the building and turn it upside down and shake it, it's everything that falls out, right? So it is the furnishings, it's the equipment, it's the custodial equipment, it really spans a spectrum to fully outfit the building. So just, again, a glimpse ahead at the schedule for that process. Starting in the spring, we will bring our consultants, Stafura Associates, they're experts in this, in to meet with a group of representatives from both the Up Academy, Oliver, as well as Oliver Partnership, so that'll be the principals and probably representatives from each grade level or department, to, really guide the process for picking the furniture that comes down to the finishes as well, the colors, materials, et cetera. As part of that process, for the bigger volume items like chairs, the consultant will have arranged to bring in chairs for, sit tests so that you can kind of, kick the tires and see what's most comfortable. So that process will take place in the spring. After that's complete, Stafura will document all of those selections, both by updating the furniture plans and completing the budgets and lists of all of the pieces and parts that will go into each room of the building. Then as we get into late summer, early fall, we'll get into the bidding process. So there'll be some bidding associated with these materials as well as procurement from state contracts. So again, Stafura is expert in knowing what's the best value for things that can be bought off the cooperative purchase agreements versus bid. So after that's complete, we need to leave time for manufacture and delivery so that once that substantial completion date of June 2025 is hit, we'll be able to bring in all the furniture and equipment.
Thank you, Helen. My name is Stephen Valeri. I'm with Consigli Construction as the project manager for the job. Christian hit on most of these milestones from the past and the future, so I won't touch on those too much more, but I'll go over a few project photos and kind of highlight some of the different things going on site today. So this photo right here is one of our regular monthly drone flights around the project site, looking southeast towards Haverhill Street. When this was taken about 2 weeks ago, the steel erection was complete on the left side of the screen and was working its way over onto the right side of the screen. So this is something we do every month to get a glimpse of what's going on around the site and get a better perspective for the space available and where things are at, and kind of just take a snapshot in time for how it's progressing. A few more photos of the steel erection that's happening on site. The photo on the left side again shows really the east half of the building where the steel erection was split up on east versus the half side of the site. So on the east half, that is the fully topped out building. So it's 1 story below grade / underground, and then 6 stories above grade to the roof level. The photo on the right side again shows some of the follow-on work after the steel is put in place, where the metal decking is installed, different miscellaneous angles are also installed, welded, and getting ready for the concrete slab placements. Photo on the left is the fully erected stairwell, the stringers and pans for the stair that goes all the way from the basement to level 5. And then the photo on the right side, a really cool one showing the newly installed windows and glass for the portion of the existing Oliver School that was to remain. So it's nice to see some finished materials going into the project now as we fall behind. This slideshow just shows kind of the before and current photos of the school. So the one on the left was taken in February of 2022, soon after we mobilized to the site. And then the one on the right is a more recent one from October, which really gives a good perspective of where we began and where we're at now, and really seeing the new building take shape around the community. So just a brief update on what's coming up now. Steel erection is continuing along, and like Adonis mentioned, the topping off ceremony will be on November 29th, which will be a great milestone and a great chance for everyone to kind of take a step back and acknowledge all the hard work and effort that's taken place to date, not only by the workers on site, but also by everyone that's partnered and been part of this project behind the scenes. And then we're starting to place our concrete slabs on deck now, and looking towards the winter and spring, exterior walls will be framed, windows and masonry will start to be installed, and then different scopes inside the building will also begin with wall layout, ductwork install, and different things like that. So I think now, is there any questions?
I think if you could just give the board an update about, how many laborers do you have on site daily, and what trades are on site at this point of the project?
Yeah, definitely. So right now on site, we have about between 50 and 60 different personnel on site. A good majority of them are the iron workers putting up the steel, the site work contractors on site, excavating for utilities, and then there's a handful of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing trades that are doing some preparation work before the concrete is placed on the slabs. And then the various concrete trades are also on site.
As far as schedule, are you guys on point with the schedule, or are you
Yes.
behind? Do you
Yep,
think-
schedule is still, we're on track right now and still on track for the June 10th completion date of 2025.
This
So
may not be an
about
appro-
18 months, right? About 18 months?
Correct.
This may not be an appropriate question for you, but are we going to have AC in this new building, energy efficiency? Okay, good to know.
Yeah, it's just general overall. I think 80% of our buildings right now are AC, temperature controlled. We're also doing some work over the summer to some of the buildings that don't have that. For example, the Bruce, we're going to be using ESSER funding to get them, which will mean another 500 students. And we're also doing electrical upgrades at 2 of the other buildings that will allow us to buy portable units for air cooling. And then at North Commons, the major work at the summer is going to be replacing the windows, which will allow us to put window units there as well.
I had just a couple of questions, and again, I don't know thank you guys for all the work that you're putting into. We needed this school. In terms, and Superintendent, I think this is more for you, in terms of capacity for the new space?
So 1,100 is going to be capacity for 1,100 students, between 1,000 and 1,100, I believe, depending on what the configuration is, which is about, we'll go over the numbers of the current enrollments of those 2 schools right now. So the Oliver Elementary and the Oliver Middle have around, 700, 750 students right now. So at least an additional 250 seats when the new building opens, and maybe perhaps a few more.
And then, sorry, Superintendent, I think just to clarify, it is for a 1,000-student school, yeah.
A quick question in terms of I guess, the furniture, aligning with the mission of the school's plan for education in general. What's been the discussion in terms of like layout for classrooms and stuff like that? So for example, I was in a school where we built a new building, and the goal was to have collaborative classrooms, and so we had rolling chairs, right? So in terms of furniture, it's one thing to put beautiful things in classrooms, and that's great, but also the idea of whatever we put in there aligning with what our students need. I don't know what the conversations have been, if they have happened yet, but I'm just wondering in terms of the thinking behind that.
Yeah, I can speak to that. Yes, some early programming was done just to, again, test the number. We established budgets early on. And what we heard from both schools was a need for collaboration and, things that can be moved easily and reconfigured in classrooms. So again, as we re-enter this process of programming and confirming the design, those details about rolling or not rolling, there's different points of view about that in terms of, can they break, durability, et cetera. How movable is the furniture? How much flexibility do you really need? And weighing that against durability, that'll come in in what the work that we'll be doing in the spring.
And then my other question is, it's an obvious one, but in terms of access for all our students, I'm assuming there's going to be ways for all our students to get around the school and access all that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes,
And
accessibility codes.
And then tipping off and top off are two different things. Okay, sorry.
I just have a comment. This visual with the schedule it just brings it so close to home that we're almost there. When you think about this line and where we were when we started, we've come such a long way, and in about a year and a half, that building will be opened. And I want to thank Adonis and the team for the effort. There's been no setback or anything. Things are moving ahead, so we keep our fingers crossed that we can keep going. But I'm so excited about both buildings, and we just can't wait
Yeah, thank you
for
guys.
them to
It
be
was awesome.
open.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you very much to all three of you for joining us tonight. Thank you, Adonis, as well. At this time, Dave, I think we're going to pull up the slide deck on nutrition services. And Carol from Nutrition Services is going to give the board a quick update on our mobile market that is once monthly at Lawrence High School. Provides a valuable service for our families as well.
Good evening. My name is Carol Noonan. I'm the Nutrition Service Director for Lawrence Public Schools. And we run a mobile market once a month on Saturdays. And this picture is when we first started, and we only gave out about 30 of each item. And 10 years later, we're ordering about 350 of each item. So that's how much we've grown in 10 years. This program started by replacing a backpack program where students received a market basket sized bag of food to take home on the weekends. Now they receive about 50 to 60 pounds of food every month. Let's see, what else? So families have to call us to register. Once they're registered for us until they leave the district. So we try to get them in the younger schools, and once they're there, they're with us forever. They call us, we confirm that they're in the school department. We register all the kids. We have a card, the parents come pick the card up, and they're all set to go. We give them, they come in on the mobile market day, we scan their card, they go around the horseshoe, get their food, and out the door. And it's all run by volunteers with the support of many people. Kim Barry and Kathy Delaney are one of my favorite volunteers. Also superintendent and his daughter many times. We have lots of fresh produce. which is what the families really, really enjoy getting. So that's about it. Last month, between September and October, we registered 150 brand-new families, which was amazing. So that was 378 families we took care of. I'm ordering at least 425 for November's market. Depending on how many families my staff register, it might go up to 450. So,
That's awesome, Carol. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
You said 450, about 400 families participate?
So last month was 378. And like I said, if the registrations continue to grow, I'll go up to about 450, probably for November's market.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the opportunity is shared through students who share it with their parents, who then initiate the registration process?
Yes, we send out flyers, we send out posters to all the schools at the beginning of the school year. A lot of the PTOs will contact me for flyers to hand out to their meetings. It's promoted on the websites, social media.
Carol and Rosemary have also done presentations at district-wide meetings like coffee hours. They've gone on showing families how to register. I think 2 years in a row you've done that, correct?
We have, yes, yes.
Anything else?
I love the idea that you're starting early so that you're able to register that family early, and the child's in our school district for years to come. They're still
Yeah.
receiving. What's the median time that you're seeing a family continuing to leverage your mobile market?
Once they're registered, they can't get unregistered.
Oh,
A family will come to us and say, oh, at the market, they'll say, well, my student's graduating in June. That's okay. Even if they come in July, technically, we can't deny them, and we wouldn't. If they're coming still, they need the food. So that's how I feel. Yeah.
Carol, do you need volunteers to help?
We always need volunteers.
All right, so maybe that's a project that we as an LAE board
Love
could
to.
take over, and we'll see if we can help you out.
That's great. I send an email out once a month, about a week or two before the event, just letting everyone know that it's coming up, and if anyone's interested in volunteer, there's a Google Doc to sign up on.
Will you include the board in your
Sure.
emails?
I'd love to.
Okay,
That would be great. Thank you.
We
thank
do
you.
get volunteers through the Greater Boston Food Bank. They're the ones that provide us with the food. So they have a volunteer sign up on their website also. Sometimes we get 1, sometimes we get 10, but
Okay.
it's never, we never really know.
All right, that's great. Anything else? Thank you, Carol.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, we appreciate, a lot of nutrition service workers, and of course, our custodians and safety officers are always helping out at those events as well. Dave, I think if you can pull up my slide deck, I think we're going to be moving on just to superintendent's updates. So just, some general district updates from the superintendent's office. Had many events going on the last several months, including during the month of October. A lot of Hispanic heritage events at various schools, celebrating the backgrounds of our families, as well as art events around the district as well, that are going to kind of relate to pillar number 2 from the turnaround plan that I'm going to summarize a little bit later in the slide deck. Next slide, Dave. Just some enrollment figures and some attendance figures by grade levels for our early childhood schools. You can see that 4 out of our 5 early childhood schools are all reporting over 90% attendance, and 1 is very close to 90%. You can also see enrollment numbers for each of our early childhood centers. The blue bar is total enrollment. For example, at the Breen School, there's 271 students enrolled. The red bar is for students who are identified as special education students. So, for example, at the Breen, 128. And the yellowish bar is students who are multilingual, still learning English, and we have 107 at the Breen. So those bars will give you a general number. At the Hennessy, a little bit larger enrollment because they, in addition to pre-K and K, they also have first and second grade at the Hennessy. You can go to the next slide, Dave. Elementary schools, you can see that the attendance numbers improve. Several of our schools at or very close to 95%, which is what we love to see. And also general enrollment numbers Our largest elementary schools at this point are the Partham and the South Lawrence East. The Arlington Elementary also over 550, as well as the Frost. Some of our schools with smaller enrollment are the smaller schools, for example, the Tarbox, smaller building, only 272 students enrolled. Next slide, Dave. We have two schools that are kind of unique. Most of our schools are either configured as an early childhood or an elementary or a middle. We do have the Weatherby School, which is configured as a K-8 school, and then we also have the Bruce School, which is configured as a grade 3 through 8 school. The Bruce School at this time is reporting 94% attendance, the Weatherby at 95%. And then we have 425 students total enrolled at the Bruce and over 500 at the Weatherby. For our middle schools, the Arlington, Frost, Gilmet, the Leonard, Oliver, Partham, and the Spark. General enrollment numbers there, the Arlington and the Partham are the largest. And attendance rates are looking pretty solid at the middle schools as well. They're very encouraging for us as the students are approaching high school. Secondary schools, we have one school that is over 95% at the secondary level, the Abbott Lawrence Academy. The rest of the programs at Lawrence High School are reporting very close to 90% attendance. We would love to get them over 90% by the holiday. You know, our enrollment number varies by program and by grade level. The largest enrollments right now are at 9th and 10th grade. We do have a significant number of English learners at the high school level as well. So again, we can go over, I think at the next board meeting in December, we'll go over the number of students we have listed as chronically absent and what we're doing with those students at this time. But generally, the attendance trends the attendance numbers are trending in a positive direction. We still have more work to complete at all levels, early childhood, elementary, middle, and the high school. Just to go over again, Jumpstart Read for the Record was a great day. I personally was at the Breen. It was great for me to go over there and read where my daughter used to go to school. Again, Read for the Record is a yearly event to promote and support literacy and social emotional development. The book that was chosen this year with lots of love, just a tremendous book. You know, the kids loved hearing about it. I read in Spanish, but we had folks who read in English and in Spanish. The author is Jenny Sanchez Torres. The illustrator was Andre Celine. And school staff, community members were at all of our early childhood centers reading the book in English and in Spanish. We did have an early college site visit over at Merrimack, and I'd be interested to hear what Yadriani would like us to take a look at when we go visit Northern Essex, where she attends early college. We're going to do that site visit in the spring. But Merrimack College hosted an early college site visit for us on October 24th. We were actually, myself, Odanis, Dr. Spash, several other folks from the district, Senator Payano, the mayor, other folks were able to get on the bus. We actually talked to the kids on the ride over to Merrimack from Lawrence High School. They get on the bus at Lawrence High School, and they take the bus up the street to Merrimack, up 114. So we were able to talk to kids on the bus on like what their current experience is at Merrimack. We're also able to visit psychology classes, political science classes, and chemistry classes. It was great to get into the chemistry lab. It was really fun. We also had a panel of early college students, as well as alumni who have graduated from Merrimack, to hear what their thoughts are about the most important aspects of early college. The second picture there in the middle, Hannah and Sabrina, who actually graduated, is already graduated, and also Mr. Curry, who's a current student there, telling us what they felt was the most important parts of the early college program. Just general information about the Merrimack aspect of our early college experience. We launched that in 2017, and we got the early college designation in 2018. We have more than 350 students who have graduated from early college through Merrimack, and they've received over 5,000 college credits, all these students together. They travel over to the college campus. They're able to select their courses, whether it's education, STEM, political science, human development, human services. And all the courses are taught on the college campus by Merrimack professors. Early college alumni have the opportunity to work as peer mentors to the early college students to provide enhanced academic and mentoring services. And again, as I said, we do have site visit number 2 coming up to Northern Essex. And Yadriani, I don't know if you'd like to talk about when we do come over to Northern Essex, what would you like us to take a look at when we're over at Northern Essex?
Are you only going to those 3 classes?
No, those were the classes that we picked to go to at Merrimack, but at Northern Essex, we're going to go to college offerings over at
You
Northern
should go
Essex.
to English.
All right, so we're
Yeah.
going to have to write that down right now, that we're going to book going to an English class to see Adriani, and,
Yeah.
you know, we'll probably ride the buses with you folks as
Oh,
well.
awesome.
Yeah, just to talk, just to talk to you on the bus on the way over, about what your experience is and, what you like most about early college. We did have professional learning. Yesterday, we were able to take advantage of the district being closed on Election Day. So we were able to offer a ton of PD opportunities yesterday. We were able to visit a bunch. Myself and other folks from the district were able to go and visit different sessions. So, in the school calendar planning process that we do in the spring, we look at what days are we going to be open, what days are we going to be closed. Okay, we're going to be closed for elections, so we're going to have staff PD on those days. So we were able to offer various menu of offerings through Teach Point. So the first picture right there is just what people see when they log into Teach Point. Some things are school-based, other things are department-based. Folks can opt in and sign up for something that applies to their position or what their school is focusing on. And again, schools do their planning and submit professional development offerings based on what they see as their goals that are developed during the school planning period. And the PD plans address things that the schools are seeing as far as student data or instructional strategies or social emotional learning. So yesterday, we were able to go over to the Weatherby. Myself was able to go over to the Weatherby to see a presentation by Northeastern Center on Sports and Society. We went to the high school to see how they're using the Think, Pair, Share instructional strategy in mathematics, and specifically through graphing calculators. And then also team building, the lower school during their lunch period, they had chili cook-off, so the folks brought in their crock pots in the morning, plugged in, and they had a chili cook-off, and people were able to rate each other's chili and things like that. So great for team building as well, not just learning. So just an example of something that was offered at the high school based on our data from last year. Last meeting, we did talk about some of our metrics from last year. The bottom section, I don't know if it's too clear, but that's basically our access data, our progress target meeting at the high school level for our English learners, and we had a decline there. So the high school folks, use that as a data point. So how do we make sure that our students' literacy strategies, especially for our multilingual kids, are being developed so that we do better on that metric for next year? So something that they were going over yesterday in their PD sessions were power reading strategies, what to do, whether you're reading a science text or an English book or something in history. How do you go about reading in a way that you're going to be able to understand the entire text? What are your steps to do to make sure you comprehend everything? And then also on the top right is, during the math session, they were able to talk about, how we're going to use the Think, Pair, Share strategy in mathematics to make sure that we're addressing all domains of language. How are we making sure that during math class, our students are reading during math class? How are they listening during math class? How are they speaking during math class, and how are they writing? So we were able to go through how students are able to use the 4 domains of language while they're solving a math problem. In this case, it was a piecemeal function in mathematics. Next slide, Dave. Just some general updates at Lawrence High School. Specifically, recently we had many of our student athletes and coaches attend a leadership on and beyond the field session hosted by the Essex County District Attorney as part of Bullying Prevention Month that was over at Essex North Shore, Essex Tech. We had homecoming weekend on October 20th and 21st, included pep rally, LHS football, and the homecoming dance. Abbott Lawrence had their open house on October 21st, attended by over 200 families. Lancer Track showed up in force at the 26th Annual Vietnam Memorial Road Race, and Stephanie took first place in female under 20, and Alexis and Aiden took second and fourth place in male under 20, so they got medals there. It was terrific. Coming up very soon, Theater Department is going to be performing West Side Story next week on the 16th, 17th, and 18th, right down the street at the PAC. In our Unified Games, student athletes have participated in basketball games recently versus Lowell and Andover. And we are also working with Merrimack Valley Regional Transit on responsible ridership for our students on the routes that pass Lawrence High School that go to Buckley, go to McGovern, and we have some pictures on the next page of those. Thanks. So starting in the top left, we have Alejandro and Jadis at the pep rally in their football shirts. Underneath that, we have myself and Danny with our bow ties at the homecoming dance. Below that, in the bottom left, we have the Essex County DA with a bunch of our basketball players and our basketball coach, Sue Lassard, and Joe Petrosino, who's our intramural coordinator, as well as Mary Cruz Laura from the District Attorney's Office, who went to the Leadership On and Beyond the Field. Left center, we have Ms. Siprich at the ALA Open House, the young man she's talking to currently attending the Pike School, and said that Abbott Lawrence was his #1 choice. He is a legacy Abbott. His older sibling went to Abbott Lawrence, and she enjoyed the experience so much that he wants to go there as well. It's encouraging for us, for kids who are currently at private school settings, and they're expressing interest that Abbott would be their top choice. Great for us. We had Ms. O'Donnell and several of our students dancing at the pep rally as well. And below that, in the below center, we have our track folks, myself and Mr. Beaumont, at the Vietnam Memorial Road Race, getting ready to run. Middle right, we have our unified game athletes over at Andover High School. We have the tug of war in the center there at the pep rally. And then below we have, I think myself, Yedier, and Genius on, I think it was Route 8, right, O'Donnell? It's Route 8 that goes past Lawrence High School, making sure that our students who are riding the public bus are being mature and making sure that they're taking advantage of this free resource. Also, our West Side Story flyer, and then also our cheer squad who got first place co-ed, Merrimack Valley on Sunday at Berwick High School, and they'll be back there for regional championships this Sunday as well. Next slide, please, Dave. Just wanted to review some stuff from Pillar 2. We did review Pillar 1 from the LPS turnaround plan last month. Pillar 2 focuses on making sure that we're not just doing high-quality academics for our students, but also offering high-quality enrichment and creating opportunities for our students to participate in activities outside the classroom. Again, we want to make sure that, of course, academics are the most important thing, but we want to have support and engagement for our kids beyond academics. And we want to make sure that we're combining the best assets of Lawrence with great things in the Commonwealth as well. Now, a lot of these offerings could be part of a student's daily schedule and supplemented with after-school activities, for example, something like JROTC or theater or dance. You know, studies have shown, especially for young immigrant youth, right, participating in extracurricular activities may be particularly beneficial to them in terms of strengthening connections with their school and the community. Was able to, on Saturday after we had the Stockton Park rededication, was able to go down to the intramural, and I was, intramural sessions right outside here. I was able to connect with Aiden and Jose, who are 7th and 8th grade siblings at the Frost School, and they just enrolled in LPS on October 10th, so they've been enrolled for less than a month. They told me that they are from the state of Falcon in Venezuela, and they're already on the Frost soccer team, and they were telling me how they love playing soccer, and it was great for them to be able to start playing soccer right when they enrolled in school. They said, oh, yo juego fútbol, yo quiero jugar. And they got them involved in the intramural program, said it reminds them of home, being able to kick the ball, run around. And they also said it's helping them make friends because they're new. And also, they're saying that it helps them with their English. They're practicing their English, they're making connections, they're speaking in English to their coach. So again, a couple young men who were a couple thousand miles away a month ago seem to be fully engaged in their school, so it's great. Next page. Just, again, high-quality things outside the classroom. You know, we do have a quick video of our cheer squad last week at Bill Ricca. If we get a chance, we can play maybe 30 seconds of that, Dave. Again, I'll argue with anybody think that's enough, Dave. But, you know, again, just an example of more high-quality stuff outside of the classroom that our young folks are able to do. And you know, I feel that our cheer squad is among the best, if not the best athletes in the city. Other things that we're doing, I think, pertain to high-quality enrichment outside the classroom. We have various clubs at Lawrence High School. We have Artist of the Week for our K-8 students. The middle bottom is the, you know, portrait, the self-portrait and art display that we do at Heritage State Park every year from all of our students from pre-K all the way up to high school. And then JROTC, another example of things kids can do outside the classroom. This was from the Stockton Park rededication this past week, presenting the colors during the ceremony that we attended. And again, just you know, a pretty good example of Pillar 2 is that we work with the Play Ball Foundation. They're very generous in funding us so that we can run intramurals. We're currently running fall intramurals, which are including volleyball, soccer, and football. These have been going on at South Lawrence East, right outside this building on Saturday mornings. Students participate, and the coaches and the referees are all staff members or students as well. We can see the Gilmet students there taking home the trophy from last week. Obviously, a ton of kids having fun, parents and staff members, flag football as well, and then folks playing soccer like the two young men that I talked to last week, Adrian and Jose. So those are just some examples of Pillar 2, what we're doing, not just inside the classroom, but outside the classroom. We want to make sure that kids are building relationships, not just with their peers, but with the staff members outside of academics, and also they're moving, and that we're also taking advantage of the, you know, the green spaces and the fields that are open in the city, you know, to make sure that those things are being used at all times as well, so.
Questions?
I have a couple questions, Superintendent. Thank you so much for that thorough and comprehensive presentation. On the attendance and wanting to get to 95%, and we're at 90%, what are we actually doing to get there? Like, what's your strategy? What investments are we making?
So at the high school level, you know, which is where we have our lowest attendance numbers currently, we did create an attendance officer specifically for the high school. We sent them their list of students who are technically considered chronically absent at this point, who have missed over 10% of the school days at this point, which I think the cutoff was 5. So we sent them the list. The re-engagement manager and the attendance officer are going to be working with the principals to make sure that they're targeting students who might be close to 90% to help them get to school more, and then also trying to figure out, you know, what's going on with the students who really haven't been to school too much as well. And they're working with the principals, assistant principals, the guidance counselors, as well as the school culture specialists, and the families to make sure that we get those kids to school, see what's going on. Are they missing their bus? You know, are they just disinterested in school at this point? Do they need something like intramurals or a club or football or theater to get them interested in coming to school? So
That's super helpful. Are we tracking that data? Because just for example, let's say you guys are talking to families and they can't get on the bus on time, they need a bus pass. I mean, if we're able to track that data, we could look for philanthropy to bring in additional resources to meet the need. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah, no, I think, you know, we do track the data. Mr. Acosta and I track the data every 2 weeks, run updated attendance numbers, share those with the principals, and also generate those chronically absent lists for them. You know, schools are tracking their own attendance. You know, maybe you don't have good attendance for the year, but maybe you had perfect attendance for the month of October, so they're trying to celebrate that. I know the Frost just did a celebration for kids who had perfect attendance for the whole year, and also another celebration for students who had perfect attendance during the last month. So again, we're targeting overall, we're trying to celebrate overall attendance, but also improvements in attendance as well. And again, we're working with with the Merrimack Valley Regional Transit, because if students are missing the school bus, they do have the free option that nobody had to pay for, because those routes are already in place. Okay, well, you missed your bus. When's the next RTA that comes close to your house so you can hop on that and get to school at some point?
That's super helpful. Maybe for the next attendance update, just seeing the qualitative data, like the reasoning that we're documenting students are reporting or their family are reporting out, just to see if there are trends that, you know, tell a story. That would be super helpful.
Absolutely.
And then it was really interesting to see enrollment. It would be great to see it like over a 3-year span. And then my question to you, are you seeing a decline in enrollment in certain schools? And do you have any thoughts around downsizing or bringing schools together, rethinking how we're using that space, et cetera?
We're not really seeing like a decline in enrollment for any schools.
Okay.
We are seeing increase in enrollment in like the city center Arlington neighborhood, Partham neighborhood, places where there's significant construction going on. For example, in the Bruce Gilmet neighborhood, not too much new construction, not too many 5 or 6 story apartment buildings going up in those areas, correct? So they are not declining in enrollment, but they are more static. Arlington neighborhood, Oliver, LAE, Leonard, City Center where the new buildings, new apartment areas are going up, those are the places where we're seeing increases, so. And, you know, that's why these new buildings being finished on time are gonna be so valuable to us.
So you're answering my next question, because it's something that I didn't think about. So you're 100% right, we're building. I think sometimes we think about the ramifications that has on infrastructure or schools, traffic. Is the school poised, is their school district poised to be able to take on these new families that are gonna be moving into our city and to be able to meet the need?
Yeah, we feel confident that we could, you know, support an enrollment of 14,000 students, which would be like 600 or 700 more than we're currently enrolled in 2 years. Right now, we're at about 13,200 students total. We feel confident we'll be able to meet 14,000 if we do see, you know, the trends that we're seeing. We're not seeing massive increases, but we have gone up steadily. We had a dip during COVID, and we've been steadily increasing since COVID has not ended, but since we've been back in school full-time.
Awesome. And then early college, I find it to be like pre-K, but not as important as pre-K, but just number 2 right under there. I'm a huge advocate of it, just because I spend a lot of time on this work at Mass Inc. And so how many students do we have currently enrolled? Are we tracking where they're ending up in college in terms of, like, you know, economic growth? What are our intentions of growing it?
Yeah, if we can go back to that slide, Dave, just to give the current metrics on early college. And we'll give you the updated on Northern Essex. So we have 350 total who have graduated from Merrimack at this point. I think right now we have about 201 who are currently at Merrimack. I can get you the exact data on that. And then when we do the NEC visit, we can give you the exact number at Northern Essex. But we are one of the larger programs in the state. We do want to make sure that our students are getting well, every class should be rigorous, right? Pre-K to the high school. But we do want to make sure that students who are ready for the challenge are able to take a college-level course, right? We want them to see what the college life is like, so that when they do get to college, they do persist and graduate, because we want students to be ready for that experience. So, yes, hugely important for our kids to know what college rigor is like and to be in that atmosphere, right, maturity-wise, et cetera. And I think, you know, both programs, both Merrimack and Northern Essex students are meeting that challenge, because it should be difficult, right? It should be different from an honors class at the high school. All of our classes should be rigorous in their own way, but early college should have an additional set of challenges for kids to be able to meet.
How are we funding it? And do we have, like, metrics to increase enrollment every year, or are we not there yet as a?
You know, again, we meet with Merrimack and Northern Essex to see, like, are there additional students? Are we going to target another group to join early college? You know, we get funding for the state, you know, additional things, you know, Merrimack and Northern Essex also,
match.
You know, do things on their own too, but most of it comes through the state, the Mass Early College Initiative.
So, Superintendent, upon graduation, these students that go through these programs at Northern Essex and Merrimack, those credits are there, so if they choose to attend those schools, those credits are?
Accepted.
Okay.
Any other questions? If possible, I'd like to just, I suppose, throw a commercial for Stockton Park last Saturday. If you didn't get the opportunity to visit Stockton Park, it's at the 5 corners of South Union and Winthrop Ave. And what impressed me the most were the portraits that the children did, the high school students did, of the 5 people that we remembered. Abbott Lawrence, Susan Crocker, Greg Kent, Alex Jimenez, and Abbott Lawrence. The portraits were incredible, but what struck me the most was what Celine said when she came up to receive her award, and how important it was for her to express herself with the art and to learn about the history, She did Abbott Lawrence, and she did Dr. Crocker. And Dr. Crocker was the founder of Lawrence General Hospital. And Abbott Lawrence, we all know, is the founder of Lawrence. And she was just so eloquent in the way she described what that process and what that project meant to her. And those are the things we need to celebrate about our kids, how wonderful they are and what they're doing. If you didn't get a chance to see those portraits, I'm telling you, it's worth the trip to go down and see them on those panels that are in the park. And we hope that that'll become a living history for all the students in Lawrence so that they can go and learn about our city and all the people that contributed. The panels will be changed regularly, so there'll be other people that the kids can learn about throughout the years. So with that being said, Superintendent, thank you for letting the students participate in that project. It was very, very well done.
Yeah, I mean, kids need motivation to be in school, right? For some kids, it might be art. For other kids, it might be cheer. You know, they're still all going to take their geometry and their English classes as well, but they have to have opportunities to excel in what they love. So, you know, it's positive for not just the students, but for the city in general. Those portraits are amazing. So,
Superintendent, another question. What's our median classroom size?
it could depend. You know, some class, it depends on what the class is, right? I think our elementary classes are, I think, around 18, 19. Some schools are a little bit bigger. Some schools are a little bit smaller. Again, it depends on which school you're attending. Like, for example, Arlington Elementary class size might be 24. The Bruce School might be around 17 or 18. Schools with lower enrollments will get newly assigned students so that we try to even those out. At the high school level, it kind of depends on what courses. If it's an AP Spanish class, it might be a little bit smaller than a ninth grade English class. That's a prerequisite that everybody has to take ninth grade English. AP Spanish, not something that everybody will take. So, you know, the classes at the high school level will vary based on what grade level. Is it a graduation requirement? Is it elective? Things like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Edgar? No. Okay, thank you, Superintendent, for that very comprehensive report.
I think we have one more thing. We have Sabrina here from the Family Resource Center. She's one of our partnership
sorry,
directors.
I
Yeah,
wasn't-
no. And she's just going to give us a quick update on the Better Together Summit that folks from our Family Resource Center and also staff from across the district attended. And she also has some other, you know, updates from the Family Resource Center on parent engagement things, parent education programs that we're doing. So thank you very much for being here, Sabrina. We appreciate your time, and thank you for waiting as well.
Thank you, thank you. You can go straight to the Better Together slide. It's kind of towards the end. Right there. Good evening, board members. My name is Sabrina Perez. I have been working for the district for about 8 years and almost 3 months as the partnership director overseeing the family engagement team. Thank you so much for this opportunity. This year, I actually had the opportunity to lead the Better Together Summit hosted by DESE, the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. The Better Together Summit is about partnership. Districts are strongly encouraged to send a partnership team of 12 people that includes both family members and educators. At least 25 to 50% should be family members. Lawrence Public Schools, we had 15 participants attend the summit. Myself as the lead, 5 parents, and 9 staff members attended the summit. Each team member has to register for the summit. Each team member is designated a district team lead who provides and organizes the team, support team members, and serve as a point of contact for the summit. As a lead, I made sure that all participants had transportation to the summit that took place in Marlborough on October 26th. I also scheduled a Zoom meeting just to make sure that all participants kind of had a moment to meet and greet and meet each other, especially if they saw each other at the summit. You can, wave at each other. And the Better Together Summit is a unique and powerful opportunity for family members and educators to talk about the lives of students, success of schools, and ways we can be better together. More than 50 workshops took place at the summit. They had resource tables and participate in other activities designed to help families and educators create strong partnership relationships students need to thrive. During the summit, we were able to reflect on the experiences students are having in school and the support they need from adults. We were able to share ideas about strong family-school partnerships, what's working and what could improve. One thing that I wanted to share briefly, it's not on the slide, but the commissioner, Jeff Riley, was at the summit, and he shared this very, powerful short story, and it's called The Power of Encouragement, Teddy and Mrs. Thompson. I'm not sure if you have, read the short story, but it's very, very powerful, and it's like the signature of what amazing family engagement is and what it should look like. And just to give you a quick scenario of, the story, Mrs. Thompson chipped away at Teddy. Teddy was going through a really hard time, and she chipped away and she gave him the support that he needed to succeed. But it wasn't easy, it wasn't easy. Teddy transitioned out of the school where Mrs. Thompson worked, and shortly after, he was sending her letters where he stated he graduated from high school. Another letter, I graduated from college. Another letter stating I'm a doctor. Another letter saying I'm getting married and you're invited to my wedding. Family engagement doesn't just start and end at the school level. It's beyond that. And so that's what that summit did. It reminded everyone that participated in that summit that we're doing great work, but we need to do it together, and it takes a village. And so I felt that I needed to share that with everyone here present. And that's it for me, unless you have any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just, can you quickly talk about maybe a workshop you attended? Because it looks like an amazing programming to bring folks together. What did you personally get out of this?
There was a lot of great workshops. My favorite one was the power of circles. So I'm all about the restorative justice. I'm all about circles, being together in a room where, you're able to see each other's faces. That was my favorite one. Because in that prompt, it was, what's your why? And I was able to kind of, share, internally, personally, like, what is my why? And everybody was, kind of like jotting their own ideas. But that was my favorite workshop.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Sabrina. And that concludes the superintendent's report. Madam Chair.
Well, thank you very, very much, Superintendent, for that very comprehensive report. Moving on, I'd like a motion to approve the October 11th meeting minutes.
So moved?
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any omissions or corrections or any discussion?
My only discussion, Madam Chair, is for future meetings, is it possible for us to get not just the agenda, but the printouts printed as well, for us to have them here in physical form?
Maria, would you make a note of that, please?
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Maria, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Dolores Calaf,
Yes.
Edgar de Leon,
Yes.
Arlene Garcia,
Yes.
Juana Matias.
Abstaining, I was not at that meeting, so.
Maria Muller.
Yes.
Chair Patricia Mariano.
Yes. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn with the next anticipated LAE Board meeting scheduled for December 13th, 2023.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Maria, please call the roll.
Dr. Dolores Calaf.
Yes.
Edgar de Leon.
Yes.
Arlene Garcia.
Yes.
Juana Matias.
Yes.
Maria Muller.
Yes.
Chair Patricia Mariano.
Yes, we are adjourned, and thank you and good night.